Do your characters look too alike? Are your readers struggling to tell who's who? This video is for those of you who are maybe starting to draw your own comic and have learned to draw one type of head very well, but are worried that your characters are starting to look a little bit too similar. A lot of budding comic creators can fall into this trap early on. So today I want to show you how to turn one face into an infinite number of characters. Welcome back to Monstrous Comics. My name's Zach and I've been drawing comics over here in the UK for about 15 years now. Welcome to the second part of my character design series, What a Character. Don't know about the jazz hands, but we'll keep it in. Each week I'll help you push your character design game a little bit further and further until your characters are so vivid they jump off the page and steal your life savings and run away, leave you penniless and broke, begging for likes and subscribes on YouTube. Being able to tell characters apart at a glance is a really vital part of comics and any other form of visual storytelling. And that's difficult if you're not used to drawing a wide variety of faces yet. This week's video is sort of like a cheat sheet that will help you take that one face that you feel really comfortable drawing and know well into many, many different characters. Just to reiterate, this video is designed to help people at a very specific point in their drawing journey. Varying face shapes and body types is very important, but we'll get there soon, don't worry. For now, let's get drawing. I'm going to start with three very simple faces and show how by trying to vary things like expressions and hairstyles, you can make each of them unmistakable from the others. Each character in a story should have a unique and distinctive look, so the task when drawing characters in a comic is to make sure each of the characters can be distinguished from one another. The look of the character should reflect their personality, so when thinking about their expressions, mannerisms, and hairstyles, try to imagine which looks would amplify their personality types. I could go even further and introduce loads of accessories, but we don't even need to do that to make a character distinct, although I will tackle them in an upcoming video. So I don't know how advanced at drawing the typical viewers of this channel are, but if you're a total beginner or someone who's thinking of trying to draw a comic for the first time, these examples demonstrate how by adding expression and a hairstyle, you can even transform stick drawings into distinct individuals. There's an almost unlimited pool of hairstyles alone to draw from. You can simplify them, but try to make sure that there's something about each of your character's hairstyles that makes it really easy to pick them out from one another. I'm thinking mostly about the overall shape of the hair as a whole. If any of your characters look too similar, then think about something small that you could change that would make them distinct from one another. Sometimes we all want to draw quickly, but it can be worth slowing down as you draw these elements in, as that can make all the difference for anybody who you might ask to read your comic. So here, as you can see, I turned those three stick people heads into very distinct characters. You see different people all the time, so if you have some go-to hairstyles that you tend to draw, just try to break out of those habits a little bit and your work will massively benefit from it. So those first examples gave you the basic idea. Here I'm doing the exact same thing but using a more realistically proportioned head. I've seen lots of videos teaching people how to draw a generic head, talking viewers through the proportions, where to place the features, etc. Now, lots of people can learn this with practice, but many get stuck once they have learned it and struggle to find the confidence to tweak or push that facial structure in order to create new types of faces. So for now, I want to show how some subtle tweaks to the facial features and some big changes to the hairstyle can turn a generic head into a nearly infinite number of characters. So even with only one face in your repertoire, you can conjure up a whole cast of characters. Now, as mentioned in my introduction, pushing and varying those features is ultimately very important to a comic artist though. I've seen comics when I was younger where all of the male characters looked kind of like the same man, just with a different hairstyle and outfit. And the same went for the women too. It's totally possible to pull off a comic story like that, but it's certainly not ideal for the reader. We instinctively search an image for clues as to what's happening, and in a narrative, Being able to pick out which character we're seeing is vital. If you make that hard for a reader by drawing two square-jawed men, both with slick back, black hair, then following that story can get confusing very quickly. I think even with the same head structure, you can vary up your characters much more than that though, which is what I'm trying to demonstrate here. But as I said, in an upcoming video, I will help you to create characters with truly varied facial shapes and features, so do look out for that. When I was a teenager trying to make my first comics, I had a very small pool of hairstyles that I felt comfortable drawing. That's normal when you're finding your feet and figuring things out. However, if you find yourself in the same boat, I advise you to break out of that as soon as you possibly can. Find fashion and hairdressing images online and try to sketch what you see. Don't worry about making these sketches good. Just look at the overall shapes that the hair makes and consider how to suggest those textures of the hair with lines. It's not always easy, but with practice, you'll find that it gets easier and easier. And then you will start noticing cool hairstyles everywhere, which you might not have thought to draw before. When that happens, you might even find yourself looking for an excuse to create a character because you can think of a cool hairstyle you just really want to draw on somebody. Thinking about different hairstyle shapes will help you to make your characters distinguishable, even if seen from a distance. So the shapes will be affected by their haircut, of course, but also how they tie their hair or not. And very important too is the natural volume of the hair, varying from super straight hair to wavy hair to loose curls to denser, tighter curls. There's so much variety across the broad range of hairstyles that there's always something new to learn when it comes to drawing hair, so don't let yourself fall into the habit of only drawing a couple of styles on your characters. Make sure you try new things and most of all, have fun with it. If this is helpful so far, you might like to subscribe to this channel. The next few videos will really expand on these ideas in some vital and important ways, so a subscription will make it easier to find your way back here. I often forget to do this on other channels and then I kick myself when I can't find them again later. So help yourself out and help me out and click the subscribe button. Thank you. Okay, so when creating a look for your characters, try not to lock different hairstyles behind certain genders. If you have those divides drawn up, they're only in your head. So giving a female character a haircut that might seem to you to be distinctly a male haircut could yield a much more interesting or unique character design, and vice versa. It obviously depends on the type of story that you're trying to tell, but if you can, I always think that it's best to aim for bold, memorable character designs. This is comics after all. A sense of excitement and energy has always been a part of the equation. In these drawings, I've focused a bit more on the hairstyles and features than really adding too much personality into their expressions. But when you're drawing a character in your comic, the expressions are vital to communicating who they are. Remember, it might seem obvious, but different characters will respond to different situations very differently. Some characters might get scared of certain situations, where another character might calmly take it in their stride, or even get excited. Again, sometimes the urge to get through a drawing and finish it can rush us through a page or a panel, where a little pause to think about the character's attitudes and responses could lead to a much better page that makes your comic into a far more valuable distraction for your reader. I've read some incredible indie comics with very basic, even quite crude artwork, and without fail, those have all had very strong characters, easily distinguished from one another visually and by their personalities, which were reflected in all of their actions. I'm not going to drift into writing tips. I do write a little bit, but I don't feel as qualified to suggest writing advice as I do drawing advice. I don't think it would be controversial to anybody though to suggest that strong, clear personalities for your characters will enrich any story that you want to tell. So aim to think them through before you even design them, as their personality should really be reflected in their individual sense of style or lack thereof. I know that it probably sounds like I'm reiterating the same point repeatedly, but it really is important. But a hairstyle isn't just a hairstyle. It's one of the first clues that you give your readers to your character's personality. So don't just go with your first idea and think that'll do, unless you know that you really struck gold the first time. How do you represent a character through hair though? It's difficult. I can't explain every variation that you could tackle, but I can give a few broad examples. So somebody neat and organized, who's always on top of things, would almost certainly wear their hair very neatly as well. Even if they wanted to opt for a slightly more unusual hairstyle, it would probably have a sense of order to it. If they got flustered and were somehow out of their comfort zone in the story though, you could represent that with their hair too, and have a few strands of the hair suddenly out of place to subtly represent that the order of their world has been disrupted. Likewise, a casual, comfortable, chilled out character might not worry about their hair too much at all, and might have a much messier, looser style. So those are just a couple of ideas off the top of my head, but you can think of your own though that suit your own cast of characters and lend them their own unique visual identity. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has helped you, or at least given you something to think about whilst you're coming up with your own comic and character ideas. Next time I'm going to go a little bit deeper into character design, so if you fancy checking that out, please subscribe. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.